Thanks for staying with us here on TVC Breakfast. It's not time for us to look at what the papers are reporting. The Nation newspaper, Electoral Act 2026 goes into effect. President signs revoked bill. INEC gets leeway to review election timetable. Elections can now hold in January. The Guardian newspaper, 2027 credibility battle shifts to INEC as Tinubu signs amended Electoral Act. And next is the Nigerian Tribune. Tinubu signs Electoral Act 2026, says our laws must grow with experience. New law alters INEC February date for Presidential National Assembly and Presidential National Assembly poll to hold in January 2027. That's according to Speaker Abbas. And Leadership newspaper, Tinubu, why I signed electoral reform bill into law. It's a missed opportunity for reform, says Yaga Africa. And the FCT Minister Wike hails presidential assent to bill. And the Daily Trust, electoral law side, transparency questions linger. Excuse me. Now the Punch newspaper, Electoral Act 2026, Tinubu defends assent, opposition raises hell. PDP, Labour Party raise red flags. Tinubu defies protest as APC predicts credible poll. This Nigeria, Electoral Act 2026, now law. Tinubu signs after stormy National Assembly passage. And Observer Times with interesting headline, 2027, every vote will count. Akpabio assures, says direct primaries introduced to end. The Guardian newspaper, Nigerian Tribune, Leadership newspaper, Daily Trust, The Punch newspaper, and this Nigeria, ditto Observer Times, talking about the presidential assent to the much debated Electoral Act amendment, the electoral amendment, which is now 2026, as against what we used to have for the 2022. We saw the vote files. We saw the vote files, that is the about turn done by the representatives. That is the about turn done by the representatives, saying that we need to balance, reality with, what's it called? Amendment balances technology with Nigerian reality. So we will definitely do the transmission of election result. First time since 1960, we have actually adopted Nigerian of election result. First time since 1960, we have actually adopted Nigerian law has actually agreed to. Yes, if you look at Observer Times, also says the same thing, but different angle to it. Beyond the electronic transmission of results, every vote will count. Beyond the electronic transmission of results, every vote will count. Akpabio assures, says direct primaries introduced to end delegate systems. Show me. So now assures, says direct primaries introduced to end delegate systems. Show me. So now the delegate system has come to an end. The era of we have a delegate system has come to an end. The era of we have a delegate, you count them somewhere, you're able to one way or the other, all their palms somewhere, you're able to, one way or the other, all their palms. But now it is the people.
They have actually come out with a solution to that to say, look.
But now it is the people.
They have actually come out with a solution to that to say, look. Actually come out with a solution to that to say, look, in that case, a new election will be conducted. There's nothing better than that. They're addressing public concerns about the idea that courts are the ones declaring who wins an election. To say, okay, we'll conduct a new election in this situation. That's also addressing public concern. In the
executive order approving direct remittance of oil revenue, suspends NNPC limited management fee. So suspends NNPC limited management fee. So this actually, over the years, before this Executive Order 9, we used to have the NNPC getting as high as 30% management fee. And then the federal government, according to the president, has now, thrown that away, anchoring it on Section 44, subsection 3 of the Constitution, which vests ownership, control, and derivative rights in all minerals, mineral oils, and natural gas in under and upon any land in Nigeria. So if all these monies, so we can see reforms, coming to the oil industry, the thugs. These people have to be brought to justice.
And I'm happy of what you said. It's a show of shame. For me, when things like this happen and I see our leaders fighting like this, it makes me worry because other people are watching, and not just other people in Nigeria. The international scene is watching, I feel like when you assume position as a leader, there are some things that you know that you cannot just do. You cannot let...
Peculiar states, in the sense that you need to go back into history and see, you remember the case of Omobori Owo, in the days of the adjustings and all that. It has always been very, very volatile. So competition for few offices in Ondo State is like fight to finish. So even whether within the same political party, whether...
Profound solution to this quagmire, but the problem is, why do we see political positions or politics as something as a do or die? I know the do or die thing, it was introduced by the former president Olusegun Obasanjo, much more like do or die affair. But good luck to it. But also in a place where is like the de facto, governor. That's the, as is like the de facto, governor. That's the, as the FCT minister. So the FCT minister. So you see the PDP candidate saying, you see the PDP candidate saying, I'm a brother to the APC candidate, so I just have to relate with. We don't have to fight. That's what we talked about. We don't say this is great initiative, good news, I would say.
I guess it's good news. I think it's very important that Nigeria's public health system is shaped by crisis memory and our trauma. And what I mean by that is, we saw the Ebola virus containment in 2014. We've seen recurring Lassa fever outbreaks. We saw the shock of COVID-19, and each of those
at that time. So I think that Nigeria, really did good with that. So I think that Nigeria, really did good with that. And also when we talk about this headline, our healthcare is doing well. We have our president really standing on it, but more can be. This headline, our healthcare is doing well. We have our president really standing on it, but more can be done. Well, Oliver Twist, we are always asking for more. So I feel like if more is put in place, then we can now boast for more. States.
All right. Final thoughts, very quickly.
I think.
All right. Final thoughts, very quickly.
I think we've always been ignoring the role of traditional health institutions. They did fantastically very well. I know people who were diagnosed at that time as having very well. I know people who were diagnosed at that time as having COVID-19 and ended up being treated, traditionally using herbs and all that. So